Are you ready to explore soul-centered sustainable living in today's reality? I'm Leslie Rangel, an Emmy-nominated Latina TV journalist turned emotional health and spiritual movement coach. Join me on the News Yogi, where we'll have conversations celebrating authenticity in a world that demands perfect curation. So come as you are, familia, not who you're expected to be. New episodes every Monday on your favorite platform. Hey y'all, welcome to the News Yogi Podcast this week. This week we are debuting our Q&A episodes. That is where you get a chance to ask me any questions, and I get to do one of my favorite things, which is coaching and really just talking to people and sharing a little bit of my wisdom, both from my trainings that I've taken and also from just life. So first of all, I want to welcome everybody, and let's just take a breath. That breath took itself before I could name it. It has been a really, really heavy time right now. At the time of this recording, I am in Texas, and it is the summertime of 2025. And there have been a lot of attacks on the Latino and Hispanic community in terms of people being taken by what are believed to be immigration officials. There's not been a lot of transparency in terms of these immigration raids that are happening. And so it's fueling a lot of fear in the community, a lot of misinformation, a lot of distrust in what's happening, who's being taken, why are they being taken. And there is just a lot of confusion on why and how this is happening. At the same time, in the state of Texas, there were some recent floods that killed dozens of people, children. So there's a lot of sadness and anger associated with that as well. And so in general, there's a lot of heaviness happening right now. And so I would just like to offer that this episode will be framed and told through the lens of collective care and not perfection, and really just an invitation to listen and take what you feel really aligns, and what doesn't align with you, I encourage you to release it, let it go. So let's go ahead and dive in to the first question. And actually, before that, we need to do some grounding, because it has been, again, it's been a fucking heavy week, y'all. Heavy times, heaviness. So wherever you are, if you're listening in the car, if you're listening on a run, you don't have to close your eyes, but for a moment, just really drop into your body here. Notice your heart. If you really, really, really pay attention, specifically to the left side of your chest, see if you can feel your heart beating. Notice how you're feeling. Notice the beating of your heart as your heart is pumping blood throughout your body. Notice the way your body is breathing oxygen through your nose. Maybe you're breathing through your mouth. Noticing that inhale and the exhale. And also scan from the crown of your head down to your toes. We started off with some heaviness. So notice, do you feel a certain temperature in your body? Is it cold? Is it hot? Does it feel like a pulsing? Is it more of a wave? Just noticing and allowing yourself to be aware. What is my body feeling? And wherever you are, if you can, just begin to shake your hands. Just a little shake, shake, shake. Shake them out. Maybe even squeeze your entire body. Squeeze your hands so much so that maybe you shake. And then exhale, let it go. Little shake. And then one more time, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Squeeze your eyes, nose, mouth, face. Make a squishy face. And then release, let it go. That's just one way that we can find a moment to reset. We'll get to that here in just a few minutes. Okay, now let's dive in. So today we're going over 3 questions that I got. So the first one is from a dear friend of mine. Her name is Nicole. She said, "Am I crazy for being so angry that others are not speaking up about what's happening in our communities? How do you rest in the middle of this when there's so much anger?" First of all, I want to say if anybody's feeling like Nicole or has had thoughts, whether it's this summer or whenever you're listening, you're not crazy. Your rage is sacred. That rage is what's informing your body. In this case, I know you're talking specifically about the immigration raids that are happening in the Latino community. I would invite you to reframe that and think about that rage as being love in defense of your community, in defense of your people. And I want to drop down a little bit further into this because there's a difference between righteous anger and burnout rage. So when we think about righteous anger, right, this is the anger that can really prompt us to channel our anger into different types of actions that we can take in order to make a difference. For me, as a journalist and now a podcaster, I used to have a lot of anger and rage over the way that sometimes I felt journalism newsrooms were being run. You know, I used to work in newsrooms where maybe we would cover certain stories, but not others. And it was up to other people who maybe didn't look like me to say, these are the stories that matter. And so that would bring me a lot of anger and rage because I would think Latino stories matter, Black stories matter, women's stories matter, gender stories matter, LGBTQ stories matter. And it would make me angry when I would have bosses that would say, well, that's not our target audience. That's not our target demographic. And so what I began to do was turn that anger and that rage into different stories that I would dive into. And so that would look like maybe starting a series that focused on highlighting people of color in my community, or diving into taking a look at why mental health access was so difficult for people to access. Different movements in history, right, have all been started from that righteous anger where you channel it and you put it towards something to really make a difference and really push for change. Now, on the flip side, there's the burnout rage, right? And I've even felt this week. And I also want to say, I'm not immune to burnout. I'm not immune to rage. All of these things I absolutely feel. The key is to be able to know how to move through these different emotions in a way that can keep your body regulated, and in a way that you can recognize, oh, I'm going here and I may be there. How can I move myself out of it through different tools? And so that burnout rage, I'll just go back to how I've been feeling this week. At one point, I was just scrolling on social media. I could not stop scrolling. I just kept going and going and going and reading story after story after story. And of course, the algorithm loves when we do that, right? Because we pay attention to one topic and then it just keeps going and going and going and going. And so what I, at the end of that, felt was just a burnout rage. I felt depleted. I felt exhausted. I cried and I was like, what's the point of doing a podcast episode? What's the point of doing a journalism story? What's the point in supporting a small business owner that maybe aligns with my values if it feels like the world around us is burning? And I allowed myself to feel that for a moment. And then I took a step back and I was like, I need to stop scrolling. I'm aware of what's happening. I'm not being complicit in terms of being silent. There are ways that I am choosing to bring truth, bring light to certain stories. And I turned my phone off. I got in the car and I went to a dance class. And it was 60 minutes of really high impact dance, like just shaking your body. We twerked, we moved, we did samba, we did merengue. Did we do merengue? The point is, I allowed my body to move, and I allowed those emotions to move through my body. So, original question, am I crazy for being so angry that others are not speaking up? Absolutely not. This rage is sacred, it's information, and it's love in defense of your community and your people. And also, I'd like to invite any allies who might be listening to this episode to check in. Why are you being silent? And maybe why are you being complicit? And is this an opportunity to call people in to active solidarity? And is this an opportunity to call people in to remember that folks in the community are really grieving? There are a lot of people who may be silent because they don't have the privilege to speak up, whether it's because they're actively in a mixed status family or they themselves might be undocumented. So an invitation there and a reframe that you can be angry and still need care. Anger does not need to cancel your rest. And that rest can look different, which leads me into question number 2. I can't rest right now. Is that normal, Leslie? Absolutely. It feels right now with what's happening in our current reality and with just the way that we live life in 2025 right now, where we're constantly getting information and breaking news, and we're being taken to traumatic scenes via our phones, via video. We are in survival mode. This is a survival response. So feeling like you can't rest right now, that is absolutely a survival response. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It means you're responding accurately to fear that you are consuming on your screen 24/7, right? But here's the key. And I go back to when I started to feel that burnout rage as I was scrolling through my phone. Rest does not always have to look like sleep or stillness or whatever idea that rest can manifest as, right? Rest can be literally just finding 2 minutes to breathe, just like we did at the beginning of this episode. Rest can be taking a mind break, turning off the phone. And I keep saying that because that's something that I'm struggling with right now, especially as a journalist, as a working journalist, and just the nature of being tied to our phones. So what I did this weekend was I turned off the phone and I opened up. I have this new, I should have brought it to show y'all, but it's called Comida Casera. And it's a Mexican cookbook that has nothing but vegan recipes in it because I'm plant-based. I had to go plant-based because of some health issues that I had been dealing with. And so I went vegan. And one of the things I missed the most was having access to my culture through my food. And I'm so grateful for this book. Again, it's called Comida Casera. And in it, she has some incredible recipes. And I made some arroz mexicano, some Mexican rice, and I made some salsa. But the salsa it's actually a family recipe. So that was not found in the book. But one of the things that I always like to remind my coaching students, my coaching clients, that is often forgotten is the power of meditation through cooking. And just being so present. Like I remember I turned on the stove, put the oil in the pan, and then was frying the rice. And you can hear just the sounds, like little sizzles of the oil and the way the spoon is like moving the rice back and forth, and then cutting the tomatoes, cutting the onions, putting the jalapeno to roast, and having those smells and feeling that. And I was like, this feels so beautiful because it allowed my brain to rest and allowed me to be present in the moment using my five senses. What can I hear? What can I see? What can I smell? What can I taste? In order to just be present in that moment. So I can't rest right now. Is that normal? Yes. And also, rest does not have to look one way. It can be dropping everything and going to dance, dropping everything and going to an acro yoga, dropping everything and opening up a recipe book and making your favorite recipe. Also crying, taking a few minutes to cry. That's rest. Stretching, calling someone, calling a loved one. I would also invite you to read an incredible book, and I have shared this affirmation before, but rest is resistance against all of the systems that lead us to falsely believe that we are not worthy of peace. So, again, reminding yourself, allowing yourself to rest. Now, Rest is Resistance is actually a book by Tricia Hersey. Tricia has this book, Rest is Resistance. I'd invite you to read it. It's an incredible book. And then the last question number 3, how do I sleep when the world feels so heavy? Hey, familia, are you taking notes? I sure hope so. Okay, so a quick pause to ask a huge favor. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast and YouTube channel. It ensures you don't miss any episodes and gets this content in front of more people. So please just take a second, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate your support. All right, now let's jump back into the conversation. Of course, it's hard, right? And I've had those nights too. I turn often to Yoga Nidra. And what Yoga Nidra is, it's basically a led meditation where it starts from head to toe, or depending on which version you're listening to, your toes to your head. And it just goes body part by body part. And it just says, rest, like soften your eyes, soften your brows, soften your forehead, soften your cheeks, soften your lips, soften your nose, relax your ears, the right one, the left one, and so on and so forth. And it's just such a beautiful, calming meditation. I use it every single night before I go to sleep. You can ask anybody who, I've taken girls' trips and we've gone on retreat, and whoever's my roommate, they're like, just remember, Leslie does her meditation at night. And so that's one way that I allow myself to rest, especially right before bed. A lot of other folks have different rituals at night. I know I have some friends who leave their phone in a totally different room. That's not something that I have capacity for right now. But some folks leave their phone in an entire different room. Some folks have like a 2 or 3 hour policy where it's like 2 or 3 hours before their bedtime, they put the phone away and do not use their phone. I have a friend who has, and I don't know what the app is called, but I've heard of them. And it's a special app that essentially does that. It locks your social media accounts 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed. And then if you absolutely need to get back into it, like has you solve some puzzles or something. Again, I have not tried those apps, but it's challenging, but you can make an effort to make sure that you can get to sleep. Because again, what? Rest is resistance against all of those systems that try to falsely make us believe that we are not worthy of peace. A few other things before going to bed that work for me. Sometimes if I just feel the heaviness, I allow myself to feel that emotion, and I just go into my room and I do like a cry session. I wail, I feel it, I sob, I let myself feel that emotion, and then I shake it out and then release. Depending on, going back to question number one, like in terms of that anger, I have done this before where you journal out and write like an FU letter, and F you for making me angry, whatever those emotions are that you might be feeling, but writing an FU letter to just get your emotions out onto paper and allowing yourself to release those. So going back to the question, how do I sleep when the world feels so heavy? It's challenging, right? And you're absolutely valid in all of the emotions that you're feeling, and a reminder that rest is our birthright. And actually, I want to read something to you because I came across this post by a content creator that I follow, and they are Luis Cornejo, and they're a therapist. And so this is a little bit of a read, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Luis says, "Hey loves, I want to take a moment to speak to something that's been sitting heavy on my mind and my heart. There is no coping with what we are witnessing. No deep breath, journal prompt, or grounding tool that can erase the injustice, violence, and fear our communities are experiencing. Our grief, our rage, our numbness, our shaking bodies are not dysfunctions. They are wise, embodied responses to the collective trauma taking place. They are our nervous system sounding the alarm, not just for ourselves, but for the pain that we see being imposed on our communities. This is what collective trauma looks like, and our response is valid. It's human. Therapy, and I love this one. Therapy should not teach us to feel better about injustice. It should remind us that we are not broken for being impacted by it. That healing does not mean pacifying our anger or dulling our fight. Our rage is sacred. It protects, it signals danger, it resists. So if you're feeling like nothing is helping, if you can't focus, can't stop crying, or can't stop scrolling, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because your body knows something is very, very wrong. Let's move away from individualizing pain that is systemic. Let's stop trying to fix what shouldn't be ours to carry alone. Let's start honoring what's coming up with tenderness and truth. I'm holding space for all of us, not to rush to resolution, but to name the harm, feel the fire, and remember that we are not alone in it." And again, those were words by Luis Cornejo. I like the framing of that, because what I'm suggesting here is not let's rest and recharge and pretend like nothing is happening, right? Collective trauma is exactly the right way to name it, as Luis did. What I'm suggesting with these tools are to allow yourself to try to come to baseline, try to reset your nervous system, and realize that if you are feeling like you can't sleep, if you're feeling anger, if it feels like you can't rest, pay attention and realize the moment that we're in, and meet that moment with love and care for yourself. And again, you don't have to carry this alone. Rest does not mean abandoning any movement. It means sustaining it. How can you actively rest for yourself? Take a break and be able to hop back in, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. So I invite you here to choose one moment today to just put your hand on your heart and say, I'm worthy of rest. Estoy aquí. I'm still here. I'm worthy of rest. Estoy aquí. I'm still here. And just allow that silence. Noticing the beating of your heart right underneath your hands. I'm worthy of rest. Estoy aquí. I'm still here. We'll see you on the next episode of the News Yogi Podcast. Thank you for listening to this entire episode. For that, my heart is filled with gratitude. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Spread the word to your friends and fam, whoever may be interested in this topic. This space is for you, familia. If you know someone who'd be a perfect guest, yes, including you, or you have a topic you'd like to see covered in future episodes, visit thenewsyogi.com/podcast. See you next week on The News Yogi.